I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Let me begin by apologizing for the weather. I am a native son of Virginia Beach, and so I hope that if this is your first trip to Virginia Beach, that you have the opportunity to come back and experience it in more pleasant weather. There's a reason we call ourselves a beach, and you should come back and try to enjoy that. It's a lot of fun in the summer. But I do appreciate you all being out here on such a cold and wintry morning. The probably silver lining in that cloud is those of you who have been visiting our schools are getting to see how well geothermal systems actually work, so we appreciate that. It's a pleasure to welcome you on behalf of our school board to Virginia Beach and to just be a part of this conference. You've heard a lot and seen a lot about what we're trying to do, and people ask me all the time, you know, what's your secret? How did you lead in such a progressive, forward-thinking, sustainable practices school division? And I say, well, I got hired after they hired a guy named Tim Cole. So I want to say thank you to Tim, for those of you who know him, for all of his leadership. It's a wonderful experience to come into a school division that is forward-thinking and to be in a city that is forward-thinking. I think the mayor yesterday talked about the commitment not only within the school division to green building practices, but in all of our municipal buildings. And I think that that's a remarkable testament. I think in this day and age, in 2015, it's very difficult to live anywhere, but particularly to live in a coastal watershed and not think about how you impact the natural world around you. One of the things that's so exciting to me about that is the opportunity to do that with our children and our students. I have 6 children myself, and so I'm keenly interested in their future, and I think that that conversation is a critical one. I would like to recognize that we've got a lot of students in the room today. How many students are in the room today? Raise your hand if you're a student. So you guys can see that we have students. I've got a group of students here from Princess Anne Middle School that I had a chance to meet. That's from Virginia Beach, and they did a presentation yesterday. I hope you had an opportunity to see that. It's wonderful for me to see them engaged in the process. Their teacher, I was at an expo not too long ago and met with a couple other of her students, and they were showing me a project they had built, and the project that they had built themselves, and this is pretty cool. I never could have done this in middle school, but they had taken PVC pipe and a GoPro camera, and they had built a submersible robot to monitor the oyster beds in the Lynn Haven River as a part of their thinking around clean water sustainability. And that's the kind of hands-on, interesting work that we need to be challenging our students to do. So as we talk about green schools, and I know you know this, and I'm preaching to the choir a little bit, but as we talk about green schools, it's not just the buildings that the kids sit in. The buildings are a critical part of the work because they can become learning places for our kids, but green schools are about what we teach. Green schools are about how we challenge our students to think about their world. One of the key things that I'm committed to, one of the things that I think is most important in our work in schools, is asking our children to solve their community's problems. You know, if we just ask them to think about what 1 + 1 equals, or to think about how to solve linear equations, or to think about the important themes in Hamlet, I think those are really interesting world perspective garnering questions and interesting and important facts and bits of knowledge that students have to accumulate over time. But they mean nothing if we're not applying them to the great challenges that our communities face. And those challenges include things like poverty, to be sure. They include things like hunger, to be sure. But they also include the need to think about sustainable practices in our communities, the need to think about how we solve clean water challenges for our community and across the country and across the world, how we think about ending hunger across the world and certainly within our own communities, how we think about things like, and I loved hearing the answer that you got about aquaponics, because I agree. I think aquaponics is an incredible solution to world hunger and something that we need to explore in far greater detail than we are today as a nation. But all of that said, I'm only supposed to bring greetings, and I'm going to get off my soapbox about this, but I am proud of the work that we're doing in Virginia Beach. I'm happy to say I inherited most of the work, but we will be pushing forward. I would love to host you again at any time, particularly in the spring when we're beautiful. And I welcome you again to Virginia Beach, and thank you very much for being here.